Okay, so picture this. What if the internet we use every day isn't this open, free space we think it is? What if it's actually a really tightly controlled system? And what if one guy, with one single purchase, didn't just buy a social media app, but he actually introduced a glitch that kind of broke the whole thing wide open? Well, that is the core of a pretty wild theory we're going to dig into today. It's a story all about control, about revenge, and, believe it or not, a final battle that the source claims could decide the future of free speech for all of us. Let's break it down.
So to really get what's at stake here, you have to hear this quote. The whole theory we're talking about really centers on this idea from the streamer Asmongold, a cancel culture hellhole. That's the world he says existed before, and it's the world the video warns we could go right back to. It's a really strong claim. So what did that world actually look like, according to this theory?
All right, let's take a step back in time, into the world before X, at least as the video paints it. The argument being made here is that the digital public square wasn't just a little biased. It was designed from the ground up to be hostile to any opinion that went against the grain.
And here's what's really key to this whole theory. It wasn't just about one platform. No. The source video claims it was the whole digital world, all the big names you see right here. Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, even Reddit. The idea is that they were all part of the same system, all pushing the same, restrictive way of thinking. So if you were looking for a real digital town square, well, according to this theory, you just weren't going to find one.
This brings us to a super important word in this theory, orthodoxy. The argument goes that this wasn't about just moderating bad content, it was about enforcing one single, correct way to think. And the penalty for stepping out of line was, well, pretty severe. You didn't just get a warning, you risked total digital exile, basically getting kicked out of the entire online conversation.
So into this super controlled system walks the main character of this whole drama. According to the source, when Elon Musk bought Twitter, it wasn't just another business deal. It was a glitch, a totally random, unpredictable event that just shattered the whole machine.
And this is exactly what the source calls the glitch theory. The idea is actually pretty simple. The future of free speech was on a set path, right? A path controlled by all the big players. Musk buying Twitter? That was not part of the plan. It was a random event, a bug in the code, kind of like a glitch in the matrix that just completely and violently changed where things were headed.
And you can see the ripple effects of that so-called glitch right here. The source points to the whole journey between Musk and the streamer Asmongold. They go from fighting publicly to basically shaking hands. Why? Because the theory claims they now have a common enemy. This gargantuan threat is supposedly so big that it forces old rivals to team up for the cause of free speech.
The argument is that this glitch didn't just change one platform, it totally rebalanced the whole online world. So before Musk, the platform was just another part of the problem. But after? X becomes a shield for different points of view. And here's the really crucial part. Its existence supposedly forced all the other platforms to move towards a more sensible center, just to stay in the game.
But in any good story, a glitch doesn't just happen without consequences. The theory claims that this new era of free speech was always going to be temporary, because the old system is now fighting back, with a vengeance. A coordinated attack, the source says, is happening right now to take back control.
And listen to the words the source uses here. It's pretty dramatic. It calls the other side media dictators and the establishment. And their goal? It's not just to compete with X. It's to stage a full-on takeover and grab back the entire internet, basically hitting a giant reset button to put everything back to the way it was before.
And this isn't some problem for the distant future. The source literally puts a ticking clock on it. It claims this final showdown for the internet is going to be decided in the next 7 to 8 months.
So where's this fight going to happen? Well, according to the source, it's not going to be on social media at all. It's in Washington, D.C. The video points to this quote from Musk, where he calls failing to pass the Save America Act an act of high treason. The theory is that this sudden shift in focus isn't random at all. This one political battle has now become the real front line in the war for control of the internet. And that brings us to the final act. This is probably the theory's most surprising claim. The war for the internet isn't going to be fought with algorithms and code, but with ballots. It all boils down to one single piece of legislation about voting. So what is this Save America Act anyway? Well, the source breaks it down to these two simple ideas. First, everybody needs a voter ID, and second, you have to prove you're a citizen to vote. That's it. According to this whole narrative, everything, the whole future, now depends on these 2 points. So, the source presents the argument for the act using this quote from Donald Trump. It's framed as a really straightforward issue of security and making sure elections are fair. Pretty simple. We want voter ID, we want proof of citizenship.
But then, for the other side, the source uses this quote from Gavin Newsom, which frames the whole thing completely differently. From this point of view, it's not really about ID at all. It's about registration. It's a debate about who actually gets to vote and who doesn't.
Okay, and this is the number that the source video uses to tie everything together. It claims that public support for voter ID is huge. We're talking 70 to 85% of people are for it, and that is the linchpin of the whole argument. The thinking goes, if something is that popular and it still gets defeated, well, that can't just be regular politics, right? According to the theory, that would be proof positive that some powerful, hidden establishment is pulling the strings to keep control no matter what the people actually want.
And that is how we get to the theory's final, dramatic conclusion. It all comes down to this one vote. The source basically lays out two possible futures. One path leads to freedom online. The other leads right back to that hellhole of censorship. The entire glitch that opened up the internet could be totally undone and everything would just snap back to the way it was. All of it riding on the result of this one political fight.
So that leaves us with this final big question. We just unpacked a theory that claims the entire future of our digital world, a world of technology, is now hanging in the balance, waiting on the outcome of a single political battle in the real world. It's a pretty heavy idea to think about, right? Just how deep does the connection between our technology, our politics, and our freedom to speak our minds actually go?